Here's an excerpt from an email that I received. The farm has become all-consuming. I don't have time to get everything done. I can't get away. We can only pay ourselves about 6 months out of the year. Then he wrote, as far as our plans, nothing's written in stone, but I'd like to diversify more. It's interesting how many folks seem to believe that adding more enterprises will increase profit and improve their lifestyle. It usually does exactly the opposite. I think people assume that diversification will improve things because they don't have a good handle on their numbers. Most people don't know their gross margins. They don't know which part of the business drives profit and where the deadwood lies. So they take a shotgun approach. It's as though they think, well, one of these things has got to work. The problem is that unprofitable enterprises take up space that could be occupied by profitable ones. They cause us to misallocate capital. In addition, each enterprise requires labor. It's like adding another job, which makes our already stressful lives even more stressful. Diversification often leads to having separate groups of animals in separate places. That increases our workload, but it also increases infrastructure and maintenance costs. It also decreases the number of paddocks per herd, which puts more stress on our pastures and often results in overgrazing. Now, some people point to Joel Salatin's Polyface Farm as a very diversified and very successful operation, and they're right. Joel and his family have created a great business. Their farm is very diversified and they're very successful. But most people seem to miss several keys that contribute to the success of Polyface Farms. First, each enterprise operates at scale. Every enterprise on the farm operates at a scale that will produce enough gross margin to make a significant contribution to business overheads and profit. The way most people diversify results in one enterprise competing with another for scarce resources. Now, rather than compete with one another, Joel's enterprises complement one another at several levels. And they share the same equipment, the same customers, and in many cases, they share the same physical space. Joel is also the ultimate recycler. Rather than compete for limited resources, one enterprise actually creates the resources for the next enterprise. Waste from one enterprise is the raw material for another. For example, the chickens in his pasture poultry enterprise provide pasture sanitation for his cows and fertilize the pastures while producing eggs. The manure from rabbits in the cages over the chickens provide a food source for the hens. Now, diversification can be a good way to manage risk. If one enterprise is having a bad year, perhaps another will pick up the slack. But too often, diversification does not insulate us from risk. In fact, because of the limited scale of the enterprises and other issues that I've already mentioned, it guarantees that we're going to make a loss. Most of the most profitable farms and ranches that we work with have just one or two enterprises, and they run those enterprises at scale. Now, that doesn't mean they don't diversify. They do. They just do it in a much different way than their neighbors. They focus on the one or two things at which they excel and that drive profit. Then they use the profit from those enterprises to secure their financial position and their future by diversifying with off-farm investments. That's smart diversification if you're ranching for profit.